The day before my engagement to Chu Han, I saw him from the window, lost in a passionate kiss with his secretary. I didn't cry or make a scene, I just took off the ring and threw it away. The first thing he did when he walked in was tell me, "Tomorrow's engagement ceremony is off." I know, this time. I didn't ask him why. He paused for a moment, then, to my surprise, offered an explanation. "There's a bit of a situation at the company. I need to go abroad." He squeezed my hand. "Gigi. I'll make it up to you next time." His assistant chimed in at just the right moment. "Miss Xia, where is President Chu's luggage? I'll take it down first. I won't disturb you any further." She glanced at Chu Han, her gaze lingering as if it wanted to cling to him. "You take your time tidying up the bedroom. I'm going home to grab a few things." Chu Han didn't try to stop me, he just asked me to come back early. The next day, he went on a business trip, and I booked a flight abroad. 1. Chu Han still thought I would wait for him unconditionally, just like I used to. This was the third time he told me he'd make the engagement ceremony up to me next time. Chu Han and I had been together for 8 years, from university through to our careers. He promised to marry me as soon as we graduated. But after that, he kept putting it off, always using work as an excuse. "Gigi, in this lifetime, I will marry you and only you. You can't escape." During our first engagement, a company emergency arose. Our product patent was stolen. I had just put on my gown in the dressing room when he suddenly told me, "The engagement ceremony is postponed." The second time, he said a worker had an accident and he had to rush to the scene to handle it, or it would damage the company's reputation. Work is his perpetual excuse. This time, on the eve of our engagement, he told me once again, "The engagement is off. Chu Han, I really want to marry you, but you're not my only option." This morning, I had an appointment with Chu Han to go try on the wedding attire together. After getting dressed, I found he was no longer on the sofa. I looked around and found him on the balcony, talking on the phone. "Are you really going to marry her?" I leaned against the wall. The voice on the phone was crystal clear, and painfully sharp. Chu Han rubbed his temples. "Who? Xia Gigi? Of course not." A light laugh came from the other end of the line. "You were crazy about her back in school. Swore you'd marry no one else. What's with the hesitation now? Was it all an act before?" Chu Han let out a sigh. "Who knows? Back then, I thought she was beautiful, a bright and sunny girl. But," he paused, "I'm sick of it now. The very thought of doing it again makes me sick." My excited heartbeat came to a sudden, jarring halt. It was as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my head in the dead of winter, freezing the blood in my veins. A heart full of love turned into a joke. The person on the other end chuckled, their voice rising. "Then why don't you just dump her already? That assistant of yours is young, pretty, and oh so delicate. Don't tell me you haven't had a taste." Chu Han paused for a few seconds, looking into the distance. "Keeping her around for amusement isn't so bad. Don't say I didn't warn you. This is the third time. What excuse could you possibly have this time?" The excuse didn't matter, she'd believe anything I said. After a few teasing remarks, someone called out to him, and he hung up with a final jest. Chu Han ended the call and made to leave. I ran to the bathroom. Leaning against the sink, I saw my reflection, a face of flawless makeup, but with eyes utterly defeated, like a flower shattered by hail. It turns out everyone knew. Chu Han's proposal was a sham, his excuse was fabricated, and his assistant was always by his side, yet every time they saw me, they'd warmly call me sister-in-law. I thought it was acceptance, but behind my back, it was nothing but endless mockery. I was played for a fool, like a monkey in a show, a spectacle for their amusement. 2. I applied for an overseas work transfer, and my flight is in 3 days. The next day, Anning's social media feed was filled with intimate photos of her and Chu Han, kissing on the beach, enjoying the night view from a Ferris wheel, splurging in luxury boutiques. Chu Han's social media feed, much like his excuses, was filled with nothing but work photos. Anning replied with a dissatisfied emoji underneath. To others, it just looked like the CEO and his assistant were hard at work. Little did they know, the young woman was upset that the man by her side wouldn't post about her on his feed like she did for him. Anning, a fresh-faced college graduate, just wanted someone to know about her relationship. That's why she had added me as a friend long ago. She never hid her social media posts from me. She even seemed to be showing off a little. There were a lot of comments below. Even Chu Han's usual close buddies were joining in with teasing remarks. Young Master Chu seems to be having a great time with the little missus. Ah, the joys of youth. I immediately opened the keyboard and typed below, a perfect match. The scenery is beautiful, and so are the people. A word of advice for President Chu: remember to pace yourself. The torrent of comments suddenly died down, as if doused with water, falling completely silent. After a moment, Chu-han left a comment: the little one has never been abroad before, she just got a bit overexcited and took a few extra pictures. Chu-han called me, but I didn't answer. He sent me a message. Anning was just following local customs and adopting foreign etiquette. The way you spoke to her was out of line. The little one's been worried sick, afraid you're angry with her. Go delete that comment and explain things to her. Otherwise, she won't sleep a wink and will be upset all night. I couldn't help but scoff. An assistant's anger. Nothing fixes it faster than the boss smoothing things over. The beauty in President Chu's arms should be fine now. If I'm not mistaken, Anning is probably nestled in Chu-han's arms right now, crying and acting coy. Just like the night before last. After I left, she clung to him, wrapped her arms around his waist, and sobbed. Did I do something wrong? Did I upset Sister Gigi? Chu-han gently wiped away her tears and picked her up. The clear surveillance footage showed them spending the entire night in intimate embrace in the bridal suite I had prepared. That remark seemed to have angered Chu-han, and he called again. I answered, and he immediately started scolding me. Xia Gigi. A sharp tongue only makes a woman ugly and even more detestable. Even more, he really chose his words well, reminding me once again of the disgust he's always felt deep down. But Chu-han, you're the one who truly sickens me. Anning is just a simple, naive girl, not like you, older and far more cunning. I asked him, Mr. Chu, did I say something? Chu-han's voice cut off abruptly. The remark was deliberately ambiguous. Reminding an assistant to look after the boss's health is perfectly normal. Only someone with a guilty conscience would read too much into it. Only then did he fly into a rage and fire the first question. It seemed this was the only way to gain the upper hand and feel justified. I said coolly, or is it because you have a guilty conscience that you're reacting so strongly? Before Chu-han could speak, a frail, tearful voice came from the other end of the line. I'm sorry, boss, it's all my fault. Please don't argue with Sister Gigi anymore. I'm deleting my social media posts right now, and I won't be posting anything ever again. Chu-han delivered a harsh ultimatum. All that smooth talk, since you still refuse to see your mistake. Our engagement ceremony is postponed indefinitely. Even a young girl like a Ning is more sensible than you. With that, he hung up the phone without giving me a chance to respond. My knuckles turned white from gripping the phone too tightly. Chu-han's words were dripping with smug confidence. Every time we argued, I was always the first to back down and make peace. My heart ached for how hard he worked. I didn't want him to come home to more trouble. In his mind, all he has to do is finish his so-called work trip, come home, give me a dirty look, speak to me coldly, or even just shoot me a glance like he's bestowing a favor, and I'll be the one trying to placate him. I'd even cook a whole table of delicious food, practically begging him to eat it. Even his own friends say I can't live without him. Whenever Xia Gigi and Brother Chu have a fight, she'll cave and come crawling back within 3 days, guaranteed. What a woman has to stoop to, it's truly pathetic. To be honest, I was genuinely envious of Brother Chu at first, but after watching for a while, she really is like a monkey. You can tease and toy with her however you like, and she never gets angry. In fact, you don't even have to treat her as a human being. Ha ha ha, I let out a scornful laugh. The signs were all there from the start. If Chu-han truly respected me, how could his friend dare say such a thing to his face? Because the one who was really making a fool of me was him. I was the only one lost in the bliss of love, all by myself. I've really made a fool of myself. 3. My flight's the day after tomorrow, so I'm packing at the apartment. My parents bought this apartment for me. A gift they gave me before emigrating abroad. Chu-han had tried to convince me many times to sell the apartment. You're moving in with me anyway, so it'll just sit empty. It's a waste, darling, and it'll be a constant chore for you to think about cleaning it. It pains me to see that. I said I would, but in the end, I couldn't bring myself to sell it. Now, it's the only thing I'm grateful for that I didn't sell the apartment. Otherwise, I'd have nowhere to go when we argue. The apartment is filled with my things, with only a few items gifted to me by Chu-han. Everything Chu-han gave me was from our university days. They weren't expensive, but they meant the world to me. After graduation, Chuhan never gave me another gift, whether it was my birthday or Valentine's Day. Those occasions just stopped happening. He was always busy with work, always working overtime, too busy to even eat. Once a crack forms between lovers, it opens into a bottomless abyss. Was he really busy with these things, or was he busy with something else? I scrolled through Anning's social media feed. For the past 2 years, on every Valentine's Day and special occasion, she would post a photo of a sweet gift, along with a picture where a man's silhouette was cast over her. It was as if he was protecting her. A lump formed in my throat, and tears I couldn't hold back fell, landing on the photo album he had given me. Every single one was a candid shot from when he was pursuing me, different times, different places, different settings. He must have truly loved me back then. These photos are just too beautiful. But now, the very existence of these photos became proof of his betrayal. I fetched a bucket and pulled them out one by one, each one a sincere memory. I lit a match and burned them. A long time later, Chuhan, his eyes bloodshot, gave me another album exactly the same. I watched coldly, shook it off. In the end, things had changed. After the transfer paperwork was done, I called a few close friends. The job is in the country where my parents live. Barring any special circumstances, I probably won't be coming back. Before my parents went abroad, they wanted to take me with them, but I stayed behind for Chuhan. Mom, I'm sorry, I don't want to leave him here alone. I want to stay with him. Though reluctant, Mom just sighed and said, I hope you won't regret this later. So what if you do regret it, sweetheart? If he ever mistreats you, just come to your dad. I'll set him straight for you. In the restaurant, all my friends were staring at me strangely. Well, this is a surprise. Miss Xia Gigi is actually treating us to a meal. Where's your beloved CEO Chu? He let you out. You're not orbiting around him anymore. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. Everyone knew I was in love with Chuhan, so much so that he was the only one in my heart. He said he wanted to see me the moment he got home, so I never attended any gatherings. Whenever friends invited me out, I'd always make up an excuse to decline. Gradually, they caught on. They stopped including me in their plans altogether, or would just toss out a polite, teasing invitation they knew I'd refuse. Another date with Mr. Chu and Ms. Xia Gigi today. I announced to them solemnly, I'm going abroad. I've applied for a company transfer to an overseas branch. That's why I'm treating you to this meal. It's specifically for you. Their expressions suddenly turned serious as they asked cautiously, what happened between you and Chuhan? I fought back the sting in my nose and held back my tears. I'm done orbiting around him. They were stunned for a second, then broke into smiles. Hey, perfect. Isn't hanging with us sisters way better than dealing with those guys? As she said this, she raised her glass and leaned in to sniff me playfully. You do smell nice. Way better than those stinky men. They hugged me, saying, Gigi, we'll always be here for you. It's been so long since I've had such a liberating drink. Because Chuhan didn't like it. Well, to hell with what he likes. Who does he think he is? Tipsy from the drinks, they exclaimed. Yes. Sis will find you the best one. A phoenix is hard to come by, but men are a dime a dozen. With that, she picked up her glass and began scanning the restaurant. Your girl's gonna find you a good man. Fangya quickly zeroed in on her target, picked up her glass, and went over to pull him to their table. So, what do you think? A definite upgrade from Chuhan, right? The other girls at the table looked over, their eyes initially hazy, then suddenly lighting up. They couldn't help but sigh in admiration. His looks were truly impressive. He was quite good-natured, not even getting upset when Fang Yue dragged him along. I was still fairly lucid and helped Fang Yue up with an apologetic look. He gave me a gentle smile. However, I seemed to recognize someone at the table. After a moment, I made out who it was, jolted upright, sobering up considerably, and quickly pulled her aside. Wake up, we've got a situation. Xiaoya, it's your boss. Fangya was clearly drunk. My boss, even better, good looks, money, a great body. He's more than enough for our Gigi. I quickly tried to push Fangya back down onto the stool, but she shot right back up with stubborn force. Pointing at her boss, she demanded, phone, hand it over, quick, let's exchange contact info. Fang Yue picked up my phone and added her contact details. Will she want to kill herself once she sobers up? The man didn't seem impatient at all. Instead, he looked at me and took out his phone to add my contact. He even sent me a greeting emoji. Long time no see. One of my girlfriends leaned in conspiratorially and whispered, "Gee, this might actually go somewhere. He kept glancing over at you while he was sitting there." Xiaoya pulled him over. "And he's been staring at you the whole time." My head was swimming as I forced my eyes open to look at him. My answer was perfectly clear. "I don't know you," but I still gave a friendly nod. After the dinner ended, we ran into each other again at the restaurant entrance. I had to take a cab because I'd been drinking and couldn't drive. After a while in the breeze, Fang Wei sobered up a little. She let out a mournful wail, but quickly stifled it when she saw her boss come out. "I went through so much to find this guy for you. You'd better not mess it up." She took a deep breath. "Here goes nothing." Grabbing my arm, she called out to her boss. She smiled and said, "Mr. Fu, are you busy?" Mr. Fu stopped and looked at her. "No, not at all." Fang Wei smiled. "We've all been drinking, so none of us can drive. She isn't going our way. Could you give her a ride?" Fu Yun looked at me, his dark eyes holding an emotion I couldn't decipher. Thank you." Sitting in Mr. Fu's car, watching the reflections outside, I explained, "Xiaoya's had a bit too much to drink. Please don't mind her. Miss Xia is certainly polite." Mr. Fu let out a low chuckle. Then abruptly pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to look at me. I looked at him, completely bewildered. "Xiajiji, you don't remember me?" I stared at him blankly, wondering if I had forgotten some prior business dealings we might have had. I let out a nervous, forced laugh. "How could I forget you? Mr. Fu, your reputation precedes you." Mr. Fu's expression darkened further. He stared at me, his gaze drawing closer and closer until I could smell his scent and feel his breath. Feeling uncomfortable, I tried to push him away, but he seized my wrist in an instant. "Then who am I?" I froze. He pressed on. "So, what is my illustrious, earth-shattering name?" That kind of pressure made me cave. "Sorry, he scoffed. "Fu Yun." I could feel the warmth from his palm spreading to my wrist. I instinctively shrank back a little. He sat up straight and restarted the car. "Don't forget again." To be honest, even after he told me, I still couldn't remember who he was. The lingering warmth on my wrist seemed trapped there, refusing to dissipate. The alcohol was eroding my self-control. From the passenger seat, his cold face was sharply defined, with striking features and a chiseled jawline. Memories flickered like a scrambled channel, each painful moment amplified. The sounds of Chu Han and his assistant entangled in our marital bed, those photos from abroad. The car pulled up downstairs at the apartment. "We're here." I leaned in close, my breath warm against his face. "Come up for a bit." Fu Yun seized my wrist, halting my movement. He leaned in, his dark eyes fixed on me, and I could see the faint tremor in his pupils. "How should I sit?" His low voice reached my ears, carrying a predatory, oppressive weight. My heart quivered, and a moment of clarity washed over me. "Never mind. Some things are better left unsaid between adults." I withdrew my hand, about to thank you for seeing me home, but before I could speak, he silenced me with a kiss, sudden and unexpected, his large hand cradling the back of my head, deepening it. It was forceful and urgent. My consciousness began to fade. Just as I was about to run out of breath, he released me and murmured against my lips, "You started this." Fu Yun found my apartment without a hitch. The moment the door opened, he was on me, kissing me desperately right there in the foyer. He tore at my clothes, finally pinning me down on the living room sofa. In that critical moment, he paused, seeing the restraint and hesitation in his eyes, the veins standing out on his neck. I simply wrapped my arms around him and kissed him. His every move was as if he were handling a precious treasure. I stared at him. Logically, I couldn't possibly forget a guy this handsome. But I was too exhausted to utter a single word. The questions I wanted to ask remained unspoken. My eyelids were heavy, and all I wanted was to sleep. The phone kept ringing, but no one answered it. "I have a flight to catch tomorrow, 5. I woke up the next day in the bedroom, feeling clean and refreshed. Fu Yun was long gone from the apartment. The events of yesterday were still vivid in my mind, the sensations on my body still lingering. I lowered my head and let out a derisive laugh. Men are all the same, aren't they? But I'll give Fu Yun this, he has some decency. The living room was spotless, all the mess from yesterday tidied away. Even though I was the one who made the move, I felt a deep emptiness inside, as if I were the only person in the world who had been abandoned. Tears welled up uncontrollably and fell to the ground. I took a deep breath and wiped them away carelessly. The car I booked will be here any minute. I changed my clothes, grabbed my packed luggage, and headed downstairs. Perfect timing. The driver's here. Goodbye forever. To this city where I spent my entire youth, sitting in the car. The scenery outside kept flowing backward until it disappeared, just like everything that once was. Some people move forward, while others remain right where they are. I was completely wrapped up in the care Chu-han showed me back in university, how he braved the pouring rain to buy me medicine and deliver it to my dorm, or traveled thousands of miles during spring festival just to spend the holiday with me at the rural school where I was teaching. I was also captivated by his confession, that seaside proposal, his trembling hands, his red-rimmed eyes. I truly believed it was the most heartfelt declaration of love. It felt like a vow for a lifetime. But life doesn't let anyone stand still forever. I took out my phone and deleted Chu-han and Fu-yun's contact information. That brief encounter was an act of revenge, and also a moment of indulgence. It wasn't until 2 weeks later that an unknown number from back home called me. "Xiaozhiji, where are you?" I was surprised to recognize Chu-han's voice. Knowing him as I do, I could tell he was furious, but holding himself in check. "You must have seen the things on the table. I wish you and Miss Anning happiness. Don't call me again. Have you lost your mind? Gigi, I'm exhausted from work. I really don't have time to keep coddling you. Anning didn't even hold your previous rudeness against you, and yet here you are, pushing your luck." I frowned. "Mr. Chu, you can read, can't you? The engagement ring is in the envelope. We're through." I heard a long, weary sigh on the other end of the line. "I've given you a way out. Don't test my patience. If you hang up now, I won't call you again." I let out a bitter laugh. So that's how he saw me all along, so pathetic that I should be grateful for any scrap of dignity he threw my way and humbly take it. "So you..." I hung up before he could finish. A moment later, a message came through. "All right, if you want to go away for a couple of days, that's fine, just be careful. But, Xiaozhiji, you have to tell me where you are. Be good, don't make me worry." Disgusting. I'm blocking this number too. I would have cancelled this number the day I left the country. If it weren't for the fact that I'd had it for so long and all my connections with friends and colleagues were tied to it. Just a few days later, a friend from back home suddenly called me, saying that Chu-han was looking for me everywhere. He was searching like a madman, calling everyone even remotely connected to you. I just found it laughable. If he had simply gone to my company and asked, he would have known I'd gone abroad. But he didn't. He doesn't even know where I work, because in his eyes, my job is completely insignificant and doesn't matter at all. But aside from those few friends, hardly anyone else knows I went abroad. I told her to just ignore him. Chu-han's brother called me, his voice urgent. "Sis, brother Chu was in a car accident. It's serious. He's at the hospital now. You need to come, quick." My heart instinctively sank. I said, "Go find your other sister-in-law. Chu-han and I are done. Whatever happens to him is no longer my concern." I loved Chu-han. And I respected his brothers too. I genuinely cared for them once. But they deceived me and made a fool of me. They ganged up with him to play me for a fool. The person on the other end of the line was left speechless. He said sheepishly, "Sis, sister-in-law, I was just joking. You used to value brother Chu more than your own life. I know you're still holding a grudge. Just take this chance for both of you to save face, and let's consider the matter closed." He said it so matter-of-factly, as if I should be falling over myself with gratitude for this opportunity. "Mingzi," I told him calmly. He was the one who insisted on calling off the engagement, just to get back at Anning for me. "We're already broken up. Besides, I have a new boyfriend now." "Impossible," he suddenly blurted out. "Everyone knows you're a..." "Wait, no." He realized he'd misspoken. "Gigi, I didn't mean it like that." I gave a hollow laugh and finished his sentence for him, my tone indifferent. "Everyone knows I'm Chu-han's pathetic little follower, so he cheats without a second thought, and you all look down from your high horses, enabling him and lying to me right along with him." A loud crash suddenly came through the phone, like something being smashed. "Fine, don't come then. Maybe you should just never come back." It was Chu-han's voice. Mingzi tried to calm him down. "Brother Chu, don't get worked up. Gigi's just still in a mood, no matter how mad she got before. Didn't she always make up with you first? Tell her if she's not back tomorrow, then she needn't bother coming back at all. I can forgive her for being willful once, and I can tolerate it a second time. But if it keeps happening, she's just being ungrateful." "Brother Chu-han, Don't be angry. Sister Shia just wants you to care for her a little more, that's all. I let out a short laugh. Are you people incapable of understanding plain English? I gave Mingza a piece of advice. If you're bored, just check out my social media feed. 6. The post was a photo of me with a colleague who has blonde hair, blue eyes, and sharp, defined features. He might look aloof, but is actually very outgoing. How dare she? Chu Han's face darkened with fury the moment he saw the photo, and Ning tried to console him, but he abruptly shook off her hand. Then, as if realizing something, he softened his tone under her stunned gaze and said, "It's getting late, you should go back and rest." The radiant smiles of the two people in that photograph kept swirling in Chu Han's mind. "Xiaozhi, you've got some nerve, you'd better not come crawling back to me." He asked Mingza to handle his discharge procedures. "Brother Chu, your injuries haven't fully healed yet, I'm not going to die. He really was in a car accident, he just didn't make it sound as dramatic." Chu Han changed into his own clothes. "Xiaozhi, you're going to regret treating me this way." He had my card frozen, in his mind. "My job is trivial, it doesn't pay much, is completely dispensable, and is just a way to pass the time. My entire existence is dependent on him. He gave me a card with no spending limit, to use however I please. Let's see how comfortable you'd be without me." But if he had taken a closer look at the ring and the letter I left for him, he would have known I never touched that card. It was left untouched, neatly tucked underneath. Since moving abroad, the happiest ones have been my parents. We can finally be together as a family again. The better they treated me in those early days, the more guilty I felt. I can't believe I abandoned the parents who raised me for over 20 years, all for a man. I carried on with my work as usual. I never expected the first familiar face I'd see abroad would be Fu Yun. He actually ended up being my client. In the office, he was all business, acting as if he'd never met me. Fine, if that's how it is, I'll just focus on doing my job. Once we'd wrapped up the business discussion, I saw them out. "Take care, Mr. Fu." Fu Yun had fallen a few steps behind the others. "Ha!" He let out a strange, inexplicable laugh, but there was no kindness in it. "President Fu." He looked at me, reached out to close the door, and began advancing on me step by step. "So, Manager Xia, you're just going to use me up and then pretend you don't know me?" He leaned close to my ear, his warm breath ghosting over my neck again and again. "You used to call me Ayun, you." He was clearly hinting at something back then. Memories from the past came rushing back, humiliated and furious. I reached out to slap him, but he caught my hand in his, enveloping it in his palm, and brought it to his chest. His eyes locked intently on mine. "Why did you block me?" There was a fragile quality to his voice, hurt yet defiant. "On what grounds?" I remember the day he left without a sound. I said, "To put Mr. Fu's mind at ease, so he doesn't think I'm clinging to him and causing him trouble." The heaviness in his gaze shattered, and he murmured, "You have never been a burden to me, Gigi. I've waited so long for you. How could I possibly?" I said with amusement. "Mr. Fu ran off faster than a rabbit that day." "Who ran off?" He suddenly panicked. "I went to buy you breakfast, and when I came back, the house was empty." I was stunned. I hadn't expected that to be the reason. "You're going to be the death of me." For a moment, I was completely speechless. With red-rimmed eyes, he asked me, "Who is that person in your social media post? How can he still see my posts? I'm sure I blocked him." Fu Yun sensed my confusion and said, "I saw it when Fang Ya was scrolling through her feed, a boss, snooping on a subordinate's social media colleague." I said hurriedly upon hearing the urging from outside, "You should leave quickly. It wouldn't be good if everyone saw you here." "What's the problem? Everything's been cleared up now, shouldn't you make things official with me?" A faint blush actually spread across his face. The sound of footsteps from outside grew closer and closer. I recoiled in horror, shoving him away. "What kind of commitment? We have no relationship at all. What happened last time was a mistake. Just forget about it. If he won't leave, then I will." Fu Yun wasn't in a hurry. He told me to add his contact information back first. He's very demanding at work, calling multiple times a day. But Fu Yun's phone replies came just as quickly, always within seconds. It reminded me of the past, when I'd messaged Chu Han in the morning and still have no reply by evening. When asked why, he'd just say he was busy and forgot, and that it wasn't anything important anyway. Yet, when he did answer, he'd only discuss a few work-related matters before steering the conversation to other topics. Hey, Manager Shia, are you free after work? No, I have to work overtime. A moment later. Alright. I've already confirmed with your boss. No overtime today. Gigi, I'll pick you up after work. I didn't reply to him. When I got off work, Fu Yun was waiting at the entrance of my company. I found it strange and asked, Mr. Fu, you've been here for so long, isn't the domestic business keeping you busy? He opened the passenger door and said, I've already applied for a transfer to work here. I was stunned. It dawned on me then I had been transferred here, and so had he. Fu Yun, I said, looking earnestly at the man in the driver's seat. His wrist, gripping the steering wheel, had his sleeve rolled halfway up, revealing well-defined muscles. Summoning my courage, I said, you don't have to do this, if it's for my sake. Fu Yun cut me off. Gigi, give me a chance to let you get to know me again. 7. Fu Yun took me to his place. The chef they'd specially hired had just finished preparing the meal. I remember you used to love Cantonese cuisine. This place is famous for it. The chef was brought in specially from Guangdong. I do enjoy Cantonese cuisine, but Chuhan has a preference for stronger, spicier flavors and loves Sichuan food. So that's what I usually end up cooking. To accommodate his taste and not spoil the mood by refusing, I'd eat along with him, even if it gave me a stomachache. I often had to take a stomach pill before the meal. I never thought anyone would still remember that I like Cantonese food, but how did he know? I finally asked the question. Fu Yun, have we met before? He looked crestfallen. I knew you'd forgotten me. He pushed open a door. He went in ahead of me and turned on the light. I was stunned. When did you take this? Wait, how do you even have a picture of me? From elementary school all the way through university. He took even more photos of me than Chuhan did, more detailed and more beautiful. 2. The room was filled with pictures of me. He suddenly poked his own nose, making it look just like Zhu Baji's snout. Then he said to me, silly piggy, silly Gigi, I knew you'd forgotten all about me. You said you'd marry me one day, that you'd always have my back. A sudden jolt of recognition hit me. It's you. We were classmates in kindergarten, elementary school, and for half of middle school. Fu Yun had mild autism as a child and didn't interact with others. He just had a camera hanging around his neck. But unfortunately, he was stuck with me as his deskmate, and I talked so much every day it was annoying. Even my parents would ask if I could ever just be quiet. After class, I'd even drag Fu Yun out to play, though he just followed along behind me. But I managed to make him laugh, and he finally started talking. The first thing he said was, silly goose. I gave him a good thumping. I only found out later that he was actually saying silly Gigi, because I had accidentally knocked over the milk. His mom came to my house that day, lugging bags full of snacks and toys, and there was Fu Yun, looking livid. My parents were completely baffled, thinking I'd gotten into trouble at school again. They were just about to give me a piece of their mind. His parents were grinning from ear to ear. Thanks to your daughter, our son has finally started talking. My parents were stunned. After that, he often sent Fu Yun over to my house to play. For elementary and middle school, he deliberately arranged for us to attend the same school, but one day in middle school, he suddenly left without a word. This really makes me angry. You left without a word, and you have the nerve to say I forgot about you, he quickly explained. I left you a letter the day I went through the withdrawal process. I told you to wait for me, to wait until I could marry you someday. He said it was a rainbow-colored envelope. Oh, I think I vaguely remember that. I threw it out with the trash. Fu Yun said his parents took him to emigrate abroad. He specifically came to my school as a one-year exchange student from overseas. But you were already with him by then. I was so close. He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Gigi, do you have any idea how desperate I was back then? I hate myself for being late. If only I had come sooner, you would have been mine. That's why, he confessed the darkest part of his heart. I prayed for you two to break up every single day. I even deliberately created misunderstandings to make it happen. But you just loved him. I stared at him in shock, never imagining that those misunderstandings which nearly broke Chuhan and me up were his doing. In my memory, he never showed up during our university years, he said in a defeated tone. I was truly at my wit's end. When the exchange program ended and my mother kept urging me to return home, I locked myself in my room, refusing to speak to anyone. My mother even brought in a therapist. Then, news came from back home that you were happy. After that, I thought to myself, as long as you're happy, that's enough for me. I could be content just watching you from afar. But, He doesn't treat you well, Gigi, he said, looking at me cautiously. I'm not a bad person, it's just that he treated you poorly. So I stepped in to take you away. Seeing the careful, probing look in his eyes, my heart ached. I cupped his face and said, Fuyun, thank you. In the past, he was the one who caused misunderstandings between me and Chuhan, but this time, it was Chuhan who betrayed our relationship. Thank you for holding me in your thoughts all these years, he pleaded. Give me a chance, will you? I gently pressed my lips to his trembling ones. Fuyun's warm breath brushed my ear as he whispered, Gigi, this time, you can only think of me. He cherished me utterly, murmuring my name with the utmost care, lost in a haze of passion. All I could feel was the burning heat across my skin. He suddenly stopped. Gigi, who am I? Too ashamed to speak, I bit my lip to stifle a sound and shook my head, refusing to answer him. He pressed down with sudden force, his warm palm firm against my back. Tell me, who am I? Fuyun was holding back with such restraint that his forehead was beaded with sweat, every muscle in his body taut. I, too, was driven to tears by his torment, finally succumbing and crying out his name. Only then did he lower his head to kiss the tip of my nose, before proceeding to conquer and claim with satisfaction. In the final moments, he held me in his arms and murmured against my skin, Gigi, you are mine, you're never allowed to leave me, not in this lifetime. Chuhan's patience had reached its breaking point. 8. I never showed up on his birthday, nor was there any sign of me backing down or apologizing. The things I left on the table were still there. Having only received a brief glance from him, but this time, he discovered the card he had frozen. He sat on the sofa, chain-smoking in agitation. The liquor bottles in front of him lay toppled and scattered. Just then, the doorbell rang. The gloom in his eyes instantly vanished, replaced by a spark as he hurried to answer the door. So you decided to come back. Having second thoughts, Brother Chuhan. A delicate, plaintive voice caught Chuhan off guard. It's you, he blurted out. And Ning's expression froze, but she quickly composed herself. You haven't been in touch for so long, and you don't answer my calls. I was starting to worry about you. Chuhan looked down with a bitter smile. Even you know how to worry about me. But what about her? Heartless. Brother Chuhan, what's wrong? Anning placed her hand on his face. The stubble made him look especially haggard. He pulled away from her touch, turning to go inside. I'm fine. You should leave, Anning said, hurt. Are you waiting for Sister Shia? She's not coming back. She even transferred her job away. Chuhan whirled around to stare at her. What did you say? His expression frightened her a little. Her job was transferred overseas, and she already has a boyfriend. How do you know that? He asked in a low voice. Sister Shia posted it on her social media. Brother Mingza knows about it too. Chuhan swung the bottle in his hand and hurled it with force. It smashed against the wall with a crash. Shattering into pieces, shards of glass ricocheted back, grazing his skin and leaving a thin cut on Anning's neck. Anjing was frightened into quiet sobs. She stepped forward and hugged him. Brother Chuhan, please don't do this, you're scaring me. He asked Anning to pull up her social media feed and show it to him. After looking for a moment, the aggressive tension in his expression eased. No, I've seen how she looks at someone she loves. This man is definitely not her boyfriend. Brother Ming had shown him this photo before, but he was in a foul mood at the time. He just thought Xia Zhizhi was throwing a tantrum, waiting for him to coax her, and didn't look at it carefully. But then he actually smiled. Getting someone to play along with your little act. Posting that photo, wasn't it all just to wait for me to come find you myself? Fine, I'll come over in person and give you that way out. 9. With a simple check, Chuhan knew my work address. A colleague gave me a call to give me a heads up. A man came to the office asking about me. From the description, I knew it was Chuhan, but I didn't pay it any mind. After hanging up, I wanted to go back to sleep, but Fuyun's arm slid around my neck, pulling me sharply into his embrace. My back pressed tightly against his body. A hoarse voice whispered close to my ear. You still care about him? I'm so tired. I don't want to talk to him. Yet he insisted on an answer, pressing his body even closer. If he comes looking for you, would you go with him? His hands started to wander, and my sleepiness vanished. I grabbed his hand to stop him. What do you think? I don't know. I sighed and pinched his ear. Fuyun, what are we doing right now? He looked at me with a burning gaze and whispered 2 words into my ear. Flustered and annoyed, I pushed him away. So, you still think I'd go with him? He said nothing. Just looked at me. The answer was obvious. My patience spent, I threw off the covers. Got dressed, and left. A draining relationship just wears me out. I don't want to waste any more time on one. If two people aren't on the same page, it's best to just walk away. I've tried constantly placating someone before. It's exhausting. If that's what you believe, then things might just turn out that way. I have to get to work. I'm leaving. Let's not see each other again. I pulled my hand from his grasp and walked away without looking back. I thought that would be the end of it. To my surprise, Fu Yun was still waiting for me at the same spot when I got off work that afternoon. He was so afraid I'd leave that he ran over the moment he saw me. Gee, I'm here to pick you up from work, Mr. Fu. I've already made myself clear. You don't need to go to all this trouble to try and please me. He simply took my bag and led me by the hand toward the car. Gigi, we just didn't communicate things clearly. It's not that I stopped caring. He looked at me as we reached the car. I'm sorry, Gigi. I was hesitant this morning, he said with great seriousness. I've made up my mind. No matter what you choose, I won't give up. If you choose him, I'll just win you back again. Gigi, it wasn't hesitation on my part, it was fear. Even when you were in my arms, I could hardly believe it was really you. Every time I woke with a start in the night, I had to look at you to feel at ease. After Fu Yun returned from her exchange program, upon learning that Xia Zhizhi and Chu Han's relationship was solid and that she was happy, she tried to convince herself to let go. To love someone is to want to see them happy, even though he later deliberately moved back to her city for work. I only ever watched her from afar, never daring to disturb her. Every time I saw her smiling happily at him, my heart ached as if pierced by needles. When I learned their relationship was in trouble, the emotions I had suppressed for so long could no longer be contained. Fu Yun held my hand, looking at me with determination. Gigi, he said, in this lifetime, you are the only one for me. I looked at him, surprised by how blunt he was. What are you all doing? 10. In front of the bustling building, Chu Han's voice, so out of place in the local setting, drew the attention of passers-by. Fu Yun shielded me behind him, his expression turning cold as he stared at Chu Han. Xie, first it was a foreign man, and now you've switched to an Asian one. You'll really stoop to anything for the sake of this charade, won't you? Fine, you win, I give up. Chu Han strode over and reached out to pull me toward him, just like he used to take my hand, but this time, only he knew how excruciatingly difficult those few steps had been, and that his outstretched hand was trembling, just as he said, Xia Zhizhi, I know how you look when you're in love, and I know how you look when you're not. I took a step back, and Fu Yun swatted his hand away with a dismissive wave. Mr. Chu, raising your voice like this in public is hardly a sign of good breeding. Chu Han sneered coldly. It's hardly ethical of you, Mr. Fu, to be holding on to another man's fiancée, Gigi. Come here. Fu Yun and Chu Han had crossed paths in the business world before. The two had been locked in a fierce bidding war over a piece of land for days. In the end, Fu Yun's capability and resolve far surpassed his. Securing the contract, in Fu Yun's mind, it was purely about not letting Chu Han off easy. However, if Chu Han suffered, Xia Zhizhi would be upset, so he could only resort to some minor tactics that would sting a bit but cause no real harm. Chu Han, did you get your head stuck in a door? Can't you understand plain English? I've told you, and I've told your friends countless times. We're over. I gave a faint smile. Congratulations. Your wish to indefinitely postpone the engagement has been thoroughly granted. No more excuses needed. Chu Han froze for a moment, his face instantly turning pale. Gigi, Fu Yun breathed an inward sigh of relief, looking at Chu Han with disdain. President Fu, chasing after another man's girlfriend isn't a good look. Still, I should thank you for letting her go, Fu Yun said, taking my hand and flaunting it brazenly in front of him. Otherwise, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. Staring at their tightly clasped hands, Chu Han was utterly tormented inside. Xia Zhizhi was supposed to be his. They had only had a fight, but she didn't even come to comfort him. It didn't matter, he had come in person. But she still gave him the cold shoulder. Xia Zhizhi, you only get one chance. I can try to make it up to you, but don't push your luck. 11. I ignored him and pulled Fu Yun into the car. I'm tired, let's go. Fu Yun seemed like a completely different person, a smile often playing on his lips. It was nothing like the cautiousness he showed when we first met. And I never expected that when we met again like this. Chu Han would actually come looking for me. There were no meaningless pleasantries. Nor was there any sense of letting go with relief. Chu Han watched the car recede into the distance, his eyes rimmed with red. He finally had to face the fact. Xia Zhizhi was truly different this time. She was no longer the Xia Zhizhi whose whole world revolved around him, the one who would grow frantic with worry at the mere sound of his cough. Before he went abroad, Mingzi reminded him, "Brother Chu, this time, it seems Zhizhi isn't joking, and she's not just throwing a tantrum either. It seems she's serious." Chu Han downed a glass of wine in one gulp. "Impossible, Zhizhi will never escape my grasp." Mingzi looked at him, the words dying on his lips. "Honestly, you really went too far those last few times. Zhizhi is a girl, sensitive and perceptive. It's not that she didn't notice the change in you. But she loves you, so she kept putting up with it. Brother Chu, it's not that she can't live without you, it's you who can't live without her. Traces of her are everywhere in your life. Your clothes were bought and styled by her. She has her own job, yet she worries about your health, never forgetting to make you soup every single day." Mingzi asked him, "Have you never truly held her in your heart? Did you just treat her like a pet, dispensable? Something you could summon and dismiss at will?" Chu Han was lost in thought. He sighed. "Everyone has a heart." With that, he patted Chu Han on the shoulder and left. Even so, when Chu Han arrived, he was still full of conviction. He came to comfort her in person, so any anger she had should have melted away. At worst, he could just make more of an effort to care for her in the future. But he forgot no one waits around forever. Chu Han thought it over. The reason Xia Zhizhi was so angry was simply that he had called off the engagement ceremony. Her leaving was a clear sign that she found his apology insincere, so he promised her he would marry her. Mingzi booked a venue near Xia Zhizhi's workplace. He was going to propose to her. Xia Zhizhi wanted to marry him so badly, she should be satisfied this time. He had someone trick Xia Zhizhi into coming. Pink balloons and champagne roses lined the aisle, where a handsome man stood holding a massive bouquet. Everyone who saw it was cheering and offering their blessings. Marry him, marry him. 12. I saw Chu Hansha turn and walk away immediately, yet he strode forward and grabbed my arm. "Xia Zhizhi. I'm sorry." Chu Han knelt before me. "I never considered your feelings before. Let me make it up to you this time." He looked at me with tenderness in his eyes. "Look at that. How ironic." I let out a scornful laugh. "Chu Han, so it turns out you weren't too busy to spare even this little bit of time. Darling, I was wrong before. I promise I'll make time for you from now on." I stepped back. "But right now, seeing you on your knees just makes me sick, Ikayan." He was about to say something when Fu Yun stepped over and punched him square in the face. "I warned you not to come looking for her again." Chu Han grabbed his collar with a dark expression. "You're overstepping. Butler Fu, what happens between me and my fiancé is none of your business." "Chu Han, let him go." Chu Han looked at me in shock. He was the one who laid hands on me first. "Xia Zhizhi, are you really going to defend him?" I was fed up. Who else should I defend? "He's my child's father." "And who are you, my cheating ex-boyfriend?" They both stared at me in shock. I kept my eyes on Chu Han. "Haven't you heard that the best ex is one who acts like they're dead, especially one like you?" Chu Han let out a cold laugh. "Xia Zhizhi, you'd even say something like that just to protect him. I'm the one you should care about. You care for him. But do you really think he gives a damn about you? Does he know about us? Does he know about all those years we were together, how you did my laundry, cooked for me, how we spent every night?" The sharp crack of my palm meeting his cheek cut through the air. "Chu Han, I regret ever knowing you." My hands were trembling with rage. Fu Yun shielded me in his arms and glared coldly at Chu Han. "My only regret is not finding her sooner. Not snatching her back from you earlier." After calming my emotions, I broke free from Fu Yun's embrace. "Chu Han, when I said you were disgusting, I meant it. You are truly repulsive." I dug out the recording of his phone call. Who knows, back then, I thought she was beautiful, a radiant young girl. But now I'm sick of her. The thought of being with her even once makes me sick. Chu Han's hands were trembling, his face pale. "Zhizhi, I can explain." I then opened the video from that night. The one in the bridal suite. Chu Han staggered, his face drained of all color. "Chu Han, oh great CEO Chu, still want to see more." He tried to snatch my phone, but Fu Yun blocked him and landed another punch. "You scum, you make me sick. Don't ever come looking for me again. And for the record, I haven't touched a single cent from your account. Stop looking down on me and acting all high and mighty. I'm not some pet canary you keep in a cage. 13. Chu Han's mind reeled as if he'd been struck hard with a hammer. He had no idea when the crowd had scattered in all directions. In his eyes, the fiery passion of their university days had faded. What held them together now was a love that demanded nothing less than total surrender. Chu Han gave Xia Zhizhi a card with no spending limit. And that wasn't all. He bestowed upon her every privilege and status of being Mrs. Chu, everything, that is, except the marriage license itself, in his mind. He always believed he was the one in control, and Xia Zhizhi's existence was dependent on him. After all, I've given her such a comfortable life, so it's only right that she indulges me. Chu Han assumed Xia Zhizhi was perfectly aware of this fact as well. Otherwise, why would she so willingly do his laundry and cook for him? He knew she didn't like spicy food, yet she ate it with him every time. Compared to the wonderful life he could provide, what was a little spice? So he kept forgetting her birthday, time and again, even Valentine's Day. See, even if I forget hers, Xia Zhizhi never forgets mine. It's not so bad having such an attentive girl by my side. But it wasn't until today that he realized Xia Zhizhi's kindness, her doting, her care. It had absolutely nothing to do with that card or the material comforts he always talked about. The only reason was simply that she loved him. Only when Xia Zhizhi withdrew her love did he realize how cold the air around her could be. So cold it stole his breath away. After Fuyun took me away, he carefully helped me into the car. He asked me cautiously, "Zhizhi, is it true?" "What?" He grew a bit anxious. The child you mentioned, is it real?" "He is mine, and it's none of your concern." Fuyun took my hand and pulled a ring from his pocket. He knelt down and said, "Zhizhi, marry me," looking at his earnest expression. I replied flatly, "No." Undeterred, Fuyun only grew more persistent, seizing every chance to propose to me. But I'm afraid that all relationships start off passionate, only for time to slowly wear everything away. In the end, Fuyun, along with my parents and his, prepared a grand proposal ceremony. "Zhizhi, if you won't marry me, then will you marry me instead? You said it before, that you would marry me." "Mom said that boy, Fuyun, is nothing like that kid from the Chu family. Let me tell you, you'd better not bully him. Fuyun and I have settled down abroad, our parents are all here, so we can have a family reunion every year." Right after I gave birth to my son, Mingza called me. "Zhizhi, Brother Chu truly knows he was wrong. He's already fired Anning. Why don't you just come back? Brother Chu is willing to give you all his assets." Fuyun declared loudly. "Who cares about his measly little fortune? My wife will only spend my money. Mingza, I'm married now. Don't call me about his affairs anymore." An unfamiliar number from back home called in the evening. I was feeding my son. All I could hear was Fuyun saying childishly on the other end, "Looking for my wife. She's right here in my arms, holding our son. I'm the luckiest man alive to have met my wife. And even luckier that she wanted to have a son with me." All I could hear was Fuyun talking to himself on this end, with not a single sound coming from the other side of the line. Then, without any warning, as if trying to avoid something, he hung up. I knew who it was. Don't answer calls from irrelevant people in the future. It's an international call, a waste of money. Fuyun gave me a kiss and said, "Whatever you say, dear, for our son's 100-day celebration." 2 boxes of baby supplies arrived from back home. Fuyun claimed they were just gifts from friends, but when I wasn't looking, he threw them all away. "Oh, don't worry about finding it. It's not like we're short on things around here. Come on, honey, the baby's getting hungry." I never saw Chu Han again after that. I only heard from mutual friends now and then that Chu Han had taken to heavy drinking, and it was getting pretty bad. He even said things like, "That should have been our child." I heard Anning was thrown out in a pretty humiliating state. Chu Han smashed her phone. She deliberately sent me all that stuff, but made sure to block Chu Han from seeing it. He mocked Anning. "So restless, are you, trying to climb the ladder? Who do you think you are? You're nothing." Anning was instantly terrified. Her face went pale and her voice lost all its affected sweetness. The Chu Group, and any company affiliated with it, is forbidden from hiring a Ning. But none of this has anything to do with me anymore. Whatever happens to Chu Han, he brought it on himself. Fuyun remained in the car, patiently waiting for me to finish talking with my friend. "Honey, what would you like to eat? I'll make it for you." I looked at his handsome face and couldn't resist teasing him a little. "I'd like to eat you. Is that on the menu?" He took my hand and placed it over his heart. "Anytime." Story 2. My husband is a transmigrator who has been tasked by the system to court the second female lead. However, he fell in love with me, the female protagonist, at first sight. Every time he was attracted to me, he would receive an electric shock. He has already been shocked 999 times. Later, I was kidnapped by a terrorist organization. I was electrocuted, imprisoned in a water dungeon, and had long nails driven into my body. In a moment of despair, I remembered the method Hugh had taught me to connect to his system. After connecting, I heard a conversation between Hugh and the system. Host, how could you make a deal with that terrorist organization yourself and let them torture Evelyn like this? Isn't she your wife? My husband's voice was cold. This experience was originally supposed to happen to Linda. In order to save her, I had no other choice. Evelyn is the female protagonist. She has the protagonist's halo and won't die no matter what. After this is over, I'll have enough points to stay in this world. And I'll do everything I can to compensate her. My heart ached as if it were being wrung. When those men pounced on me, I simply gave up resistance. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. Damn, this woman is really something. At the man's signal, the small room was immediately filled with people. Long nails were driven into my limbs. Even the slightest movement caused excruciating pain, not to mention such strenuous activity. The bed kept shaking, and the stench of the men filled my nostrils. Amidst the heavy gasps, I heard Hugh's voice again. How many are there already? The system's voice trembled. The 8th one. Host, Evelyn's condition is a bit abnormal. Why don't we make them stop? No way. Hugh's cold voice exploded in my ears. In the book, Linda was violated 10 times. Since Evelyn is going to take Linda's place, not a single one of these violations can be missing. When I heard these words, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cave. 2 months ago, a terrible virus broke out in a Middle Eastern country. The infection spread rapidly, and most of the infected people couldn't survive more than 3 days. As an infectious disease expert, I was sent there for medical assistance. When I arrived, Hugh said he was worried about my safety and insisted on coming with me. I actually thought he was concerned about me. Now I realized that he had planned all of this 2 months ago. Another man entered, and I numbly endured everything. Suddenly, my abdomen tightened, and a huge wave of pain swept over my nerves again. Before I could figure out what was happening, I heard the man on top of me curse. Damn it, what is this? Another man peeked over. It's a baby. This is such a terrible thing. She's actually pregnant. The room fell silent instantly, and the man on me backed away. The unfamiliar language told me that everyone was shocked by the baby. Even a beast wouldn't want to continue with this after seeing this scene. When I heard that the baby had been lost, my mind went blank, and tears streamed down my face involuntarily. As a doctor, how could I not have known about the existence of this child? Hugh and I had been married for 3 years, and he had been intimate with me every night. Whenever I was too tired and didn't want to, he would always hug my waist and act coquettishly. He told me that in his original world, he was an orphan, and his greatest wish was to marry a wife and have a child. Now that he had married me, this was his only remaining wish. In order to have a child for him, I worked hard to get my body in the best condition. Finally, I got pregnant with his child 3 months ago, but before I could tell him, I was captured by terrorists and taken to their base camp. Host, it's already the 9th man, and no one is willing to touch Evelyn anymore. The system's voice interrupted my thoughts, and I realized that the connection hadn't been broken. Hugh's anxious voice sounded. Why? At this moment, even the mechanical voice of the system carried a hint of pity, because when the 9th man was with her, Evelyn, don't tell me the details of her violation. I can't stand it. Hugh raged. The system told him. All I can say is that Evelyn's condition is very bad now. Hugh fell silent. Just when I thought he would feel sorry for me, his voice cut into my heart again. Since no one is willing to touch her, then find a dog, the system gasped. Host, what you're doing is too much. Evelyn has done nothing wrong. Why should she suffer this torture for Linda? Do you think it's just her who's suffering? My heart is almost breaking with pain, Hugh said, his voice full of suffering. But what can I do? If Linda doesn't survive, I'll also leave this world. This is the last time. After she endures one more violation and someone injects her with the virus, I can go and save her. Hugh's voice was as soft as the wind and faded away in my mind. The door opened, And when I saw that strong dog, I closed my eyes in despair. Everything happened just as Hugh had arranged. After the weight on my body disappeared, the room finally became quiet. I forced myself up and saw the tiny embryo on the ground. I crawled over and held it in my arms. My child. This was my child. Grief overwhelmed me, and I was in excruciating pain at this moment. Someone came in with a syringe, the needle pierced my skin, and the moment the liquid flowed into my veins, the coldness made me shiver. Having dealt with this virus for 3 months, I naturally knew what was being injected into me. This was the original virus strain of the current epidemic, and it might even have been extracted from a dead person. With this concentration of the virus, if there was no specific medicine within 24 hours, I would die. Fortunately, I had already developed the specific medicine, but it hadn't been released yet. I had always thought that the terrorists targeted me because of the specific medicine. Now it seemed that wasn't the reason at all. All of this was because of Hugh's actions for Linda. He had always said that he came to this world to save Linda, and only if Linda survived could he stay. So after marrying me, he would always help Linda, trying to change her fate. I had even quarreled with him about this. Every time Hugh would tell me helplessly, "Evelyn, I really have no feelings for her. I'm doing this for our future." But I never expected that he would go so far this time and make me suffer in Linda's place. My heart was aching to the point of numbness. Just after the virus was injected, the door was kicked open violently. The next second, I was tightly hugged. The scent of Hugh filled my nostrils. The familiar scent that used to make me feel at ease now filled me with extreme fear. He was shaking all over. "Evelyn, I'm here. I'm sorry for making you suffer so much." I let him hold me, staring fiercely ahead with hatred filling my heart. It took me a long time to make my voice sound normal. "Hugh, don't you have the system? Why did it take you so long to find me?" Hugh's body froze. "There was a problem with the system. It's all my fault, Evelyn. Don't worry, I don't think you're dirty, and I'll cure you. Let's go to the hospital now." He draped his suit over me, picked me up, and ordered in a low voice, "Leave no one alive." I was taken to the hospital. When my colleagues heard about this, they all came to see me. Even though they were used to seeing all kinds of injuries, the colleague who operated on me still gasped when he saw my condition. They removed more than 20 long nails from my body. After the operation, I was taken to the ward. I'm not sensitive to anesthesia, so I didn't fall asleep, but I didn't want to see Hugh either, so I closed my eyes. After hearing my colleagues' retelling, Hugh was extremely sad. He stroked my face and said, "Evelyn, I'll never let you suffer like this again." If I had heard such words before, I would have been moved to tears. Now, I just felt disgusted. Not long after, the door of the ward opened. A voice that I least wanted to hear sounded, "Hugh, I'm here. Linda had arrived. Inject the medicine into her now. I've already prepared the plane. You can return to your home country in 2 hours." Linda nodded and grabbed his hand. "Hugh, come back with me," Hugh said. "I want to stay here and take care of Evelyn." Her delicate voice sounded, "But I'm scared. It's really chaotic here." After thinking for a while, Hugh agreed. Hugh always told me that he had no feelings for Linda. But he had never refused any of Linda's requests, and he was always gentle when he spoke to her. I used to comfort myself with the excuse that he was just fulfilling his mission. Now, I can't deceive myself anymore. Hugh said he was going out to arrange for a private plane, leaving Linda and me in the room. She walked to my bedside and poked my surgical wound hard. "Stop pretending." I opened my eyes and looked at her. Linda sneered, "Evelyn, look at yourself now. I heard that you were violated by 10 men. How can you still have the nerve to live in this world?" I sneered, "Even so, Hugh won't divorce me and marry you." I knew she liked Hugh and even wanted to marry him. Sure enough, upon hearing these words, Linda's expression changed, and her voice suddenly rose. "So what? He already dislikes you. Do you know what he asked me to do? He knows that you're not sensitive to ordinary anesthesia. So he specifically asked me to inject you with a special sleeping pill. That way, you'll fall into a deep sleep, and he can claim that the specific medicine developed by your team was actually developed by our team." What? I was shocked. This specific medicine was developed by our team of 20 people who worked day and night for 2 months. If it were to be made public, it would definitely shock the world. There were many unknown doctors in our team, and many of them were counting on this medicine as a stepping stone to turn their lives around. How dare Hugh give this credit to Linda? How dare you steal our achievement? I tried to struggle to get up, but Linda was too lazy to continue the conversation with me. She took out the medicine from her bag and injected it into my body directly. Evelyn, from today on, everything you have is mine, including Hugh. However, the medicine Linda brought didn't have the effect she wanted. Because I was awakened by the heat less than an hour later, when I opened my eyes, Hugh and Linda were gone. My colleague beside me told me that Hugh had gone to the airport. I nodded and smiled when I saw his fully armed appearance. What are you dressed like? Is the virus spreading again? My colleague bit his lip and still asked me, Evelyn, we just got the result. It seems that you're infected with the virus. I already knew this. I had thought that I would be injected with the specific medicine as soon as I was admitted to the hospital. It seemed that Hugh had forgotten about it. I nodded. I was injected with the virus by the gangsters. It's still not too late for you to give me the specific medicine now. The other person's expression changed, and he told me, there's no specific medicine in the hospital anymore. After all the patients here were cured, all the specific medicine was packed and sent to another place. There wasn't a single dose left here now. Upon hearing this news, my mind went blank. Without the specific medicine, I was likely to die. Fortunately, someone found out that there was a plane flying to that city an hour later. I was carried to a car by several people. When we arrived at the airport, after hearing about my situation, the airport refused to board me, saying that they couldn't take the responsibility. In a moment of desperation, my colleagues saw Hugh. They knew that Hugh had a private plane and that he usually took this plane to come and see me. They ran over, explained my situation, and asked Hugh to send me to the neighboring city to get the specific medicine first. Unexpectedly, Hugh just glanced at me. I'm going to send Linda back to her home country now. I don't have time to send her. My colleagues were taken aback by the refusal. But Evelyn's illness is really serious. If she doesn't get the specific medicine, she will definitely die. She's your wife. Hugh frowned. Stop acting. I just asked Linda to inject her with the specific medicine. Then he looked at me over the crowd. Evelyn, I know you're jealous again. Today is different. I don't have time to coax you. I'll come back to you after sending Linda back to her home country. Wait for me. After saying that, he took Linda and walked towards the plane. Looking at his resolute back, my heart ached as if it were being stabbed. I knew he must have misunderstood something. But this time I really wasn't being jealous. I was really going to die. My will to live made me call his name. Hugh. He turned around. I cried, please, send me to that city first. I want to live. I don't want to die. In the face of my plea, a hint of pity flashed in Hugh's eyes. He took 2 steps towards me involuntarily. Suddenly, Linda let out a scream. When we looked back, she had fainted on the ground. Hugh's body moved before his mind could react. By the time he realized it, he had already picked up Linda and boarded the plane. All he left me with was a sentence. Evelyn, you won't die. I'll definitely come back. I don't want you to come back. I want to survive on my own. I want to live. The plane took off right in front of my eyes, which also meant that I had completely lost all hope of survival. The image of him holding Linda and running onto the plane kept replaying in my mind, and this feeling was stuck in my chest. As time passed, I found it hard to breathe. To get some air, I opened my mouth wide. It took a great deal of effort for me to expel that stuffy feeling. My colleagues let out a scream. Blood, so much blood. They laid me down on the spot and started to resuscitate me. However, without the specific medicine, even if I was saved at the airport, I wouldn't make it at the hospital either. Before I died, I gave my colleague Mary the remains of the child I had collected and a recording. I told her earnestly, please give this to Hugh for me. At the same time, a notification rang in Hugh's mind. The female protagonist of the current world has been changed to Linda. Upon hearing this notification, Hugh opened his eyes abruptly. At this moment, he was accompanying Linda, waiting for the press conference to start. An hour ago, Linda had announced that her team had developed the specific medicine. Once the news was released, it caused a sensation around the world. I heard him asking the system, "What's going on?" The system told him in a flustered manner, "Host, it's not good. The original female protagonist is dead. In order to maintain the stability of this world, Linda has been made the female protagonist." "Who did you say is dead?" In his excitement, Hugh made a sound. Everyone around looked over, and Linda also quickly asked him, "Hugh, what's wrong?" But Hugh didn't even spare her a glance and got up to leave. Linda's hand hung in midair. Feeling extremely embarrassed, When he got to a place where there was no one around, Hugh finally revealed his emotions. His pupils shrank slightly, and his whole body was shaking. It's impossible. How could Evelyn die? Isn't she the female protagonist of this world? Doesn't she have the protagonist's halo? How could she die? The system obviously didn't understand the current situation either. The information I have now is that the original female protagonist is dead. I need to ask the main system to figure out exactly what happened. The most important thing for you now is to calm down. It's best to go to Evelyn's place. Yes, I'll go find Evelyn right now. Hugh took out his phone and contacted a private plane, and then ran towards the door. Just as he reached the door, Linda ran out and stopped him. Hugh, where are you going? The reporters are waiting up ahead. Come with me. I'm nervous in this kind of situation. According to the schedule, it was already time for the press conference. Everyone knew that as long as Linda acted coquettishly with him, Hugh would agree without hesitation. But in full view of the public, Hugh didn't give Linda any face. He pushed her away roughly and cursed, "Get lost." Then he left without hesitation. All that was left was Linda with a resentful expression and the people behind her whispering and pointing, on the way. Hugh was extremely anxious. According to the regulations, my body needed to be disinfected all over and then cremated, and then transported to a professional place for deep burial. It could be said to be a complete destruction of the body. When Hugh arrived, the colleagues who had dealt with my body had just come back. When they saw him, everyone was stunned. Hugh rushed up and asked them, "Where's Evelyn?" Mary told him with red eyes, "She's dead." Upon hearing these two words, Hugh's body froze. He took 2 steps back continuously, and his voice was filled with horror. "How is that possible? Evelyn won't die. You must be lying to me. This is a trick between you and her. Where is she? Where on earth is she?" He was angry and hysterical. Mary watched him go crazy and couldn't bear it anymore. "Why wouldn't she die? Didn't you ask those people to kidnap her and inject her with the original virus strain?" Hugh's face turned pale in an instant, and he said in disbelief, "How do you know about this?" "Not only do I know, but everyone knows now." Mary's voice was full of accusation. "Hugh, I always thought you really liked Evelyn. I didn't expect you to be such a scumbag. For Linda, you actually made such a deal with the terrorists. You sent Evelyn to that kind of place, watched her be tortured, and then gave all the hard work of all of us to Linda. Do you know that Evelyn was pregnant with your child? She saved so many people infected with the virus. But in the end, she died because she was infected with the virus herself. Don't you think it's ridiculous?" Hugh was completely stunned. His voice was hoarse. "How could she die from the virus infection? I clearly asked Linda to inject her with the specific medicine. You'll know the specific reason when you listen to this." Mary gave him the recording I had left behind. That recording was my accusation of Hugh's actions and the conversation between him and Linda. I told Mary to give one copy to Hugh and the other to the domestic judicial authorities. We had worked so hard for so long, and I didn't want all our efforts to really benefit Linda. As he listened to the voices in the recording, Hugh's face turned pale. He couldn't believe that Linda hadn't injected me with the specific medicine at all, but a sleeping pill instead. No, how could this be? At this moment, he was like a child who had lost his beloved toy, crying loudly, "This isn't true. This must be a forgery by you guys. Whether it's a forgery or not, you'll know the result soon." Mary's face was cold. "Hugh, you and Linda will be punished soon." Hugh slumped to the ground, and all the color drained from his face. After a moment, he stared at Mary with red eyes and asked, "Where's the body?" "What? Evelyn's body?" Hugh let out a crazy growl. "Give her to me. It's already been dealt with." Mary sneered and took out a bottle from her bag. "Oh, you can have this." When he saw what was in the bottle, Hugh was shocked again. "What is this?" "Your child, Dr. When found out she was pregnant before she was captured by the terrorists, she always told us that you liked children the most, and once the specific medicine was announced, she could share this good news with you." Hugh hugged his head with both hands. Looking at the unformed child, he let out a low roar. I understand that the more he had looked forward to this child before, the more painful he was now. Mary asked him, "Hugh, when you asked those people to capture Evelyn, did you ever think that this would kill your wife and child?" After asking him these soul-searching questions, Mary went back to the hospital. The colleagues behind her walked back one by one, and every look they gave Hugh was filled with hatred. At the same time, Hugh's system went online again and told him, "Host, I've found out, Evelyn's death was because of Linda." The reason Linda became the female protagonist is that you gave all the things that belong to the female protagonist to her, so she became the female protagonist. Oh, by the way, when I was investigating this matter, I also found out that Evelyn's consciousness once entered my space. She might have wanted to ask you for help at that time, but she heard your conversation. What? Hugh couldn't even shout at this moment. His voice was extremely hoarse. And his former elegance was completely gone. He couldn't face all of this. He thought he had done everything perfectly and that this matter wouldn't be discovered, but he had forgotten that he had taught me how to connect to his system. At that time, he said that as long as I connected to it, no matter where he was, he would definitely appear by my side within 3 minutes. Hugh broke his promise. Not only did he not save me, but he also killed me with his own hands. Thinking of this, a huge current passed through Hugh's heart. He was in so much pain that he couldn't straighten his back. Then I remembered that on the night of our wedding, Hugh confessed his secret to me. He said that the system stipulated that he could only love Linda, but he had fallen in love with me at first sight. The system told him that every time he was attracted to me, he would receive an electric shock. As his feelings for me grew stronger, the electric shocks would gradually become more severe. When he married me, he had been shocked 999 times. Even so, after I said I do, he still thought it was worth it. Thinking of this, Hugh realized he hadn't felt an electric shock for a very, very long time. It turned out that he hadn't loved me for a long, long time. This electric shock was longer and more severe than ever before. After the electric shock passed, he slowly stood up. He said in a deep voice, "Go back to the home country." Since he had taken everything of mine and given it to Linda, now he would take it all back from her. The system had been with Hugh for so long that it could read his mind. Just by looking at his expression, it knew what he was going to do. The system shouted anxiously, "Host, no matter what you're going to do, you have to calm down. Evelyn is already dead, and Linda has become the female protagonist. This is already a settled situation. Your mission is also completed now. You won't die. You can stay in this world or go back to the real world. If you act impulsively, all of this might be ruined." No matter how much it shouted, Hugh only had one sentence: "Shut up." The world without Evelyn didn't deserve to exist anymore. Linda was stunned for a few seconds when she saw Hugh through the peephole. Soon she turned around and ran upstairs. When she came down again, she was wearing very few clothes. After opening the door, Linda pretended to be unsteady and threw herself into his arms. "Hugh, why are you here now? I called you many times, but you didn't reply to me." Linda looked up and finally noticed Hugh's gloomy expression. She trembled for no reason. "Hugh, who made you unhappy?" Before she could finish her words, a pair of big hands choked her neck. In an instant, Linda's face turned red. "Hugh, what are you doing?" "Linda, what did you inject into Evelyn?" Feeling his murderous gaze, Linda's whole body went stiff. She forced a stiff smile. It was the specific medicine. "Is Sister Evelyn okay?" "You're lying." Hugh took out the recording. After playing it, a look of panic appeared in Linda's eyes. Everyone knew how crazy Hugh could be. Everyone also knew that I was his sore spot. Besides him, no one else was allowed to hurt me, judging by Hugh's appearance. Linda knew that the matter had been exposed. Thinking of the way Hugh had treated her recently, she couldn't help but say, "Hugh, I did all of this for you. That stupid Evelyn. If she knew you gave the specific medicine to me, she would definitely take revenge." Hugh narrowed his eyes and said word by word, "Who asked you to do this?" Linda summoned up her courage. "I did it for your own good. Hugh, I'm in love with you. You've done so much for me. You must like me too. I just want to fight for my own happiness. What's wrong with that?" His expression was one of disgust. "Your mistake is that you laid a hand on Evelyn." He raised the syringe in his hand and stabbed it straight towards Linda's neck. "You used this to make Evelyn unconscious, right? For every bit of pain she suffered because of you, I will make you pay 1,000 times, even 100 times more." His voice was sonorous and forceful, and Linda saw the word devil on his face. Only then did she regret it. She shouldn't have touched Evelyn. She shouldn't have provoked this man who was like a devil. "Evelyn, wake up." When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a world of white light. A familiar voice came from above my head. I rubbed my eyes and remembered that I should be dead. I asked, "Is this heaven? This is my space." When I heard the voice again, I realized it was the voice of Hugh's system. "I'm sorry. I summoned you here because something very urgent has happened in this world, and we need your help." The system briefly told me the latest situation. It said that after Hugh knew everything, he went to seek revenge on Linda. What I had experienced happened to Linda all over again, but this time, Hugh's methods were even more ruthless than when he dealt with me. Linda was tortured beyond recognition. If it were just about torturing Linda, that would be one thing. But Hugh also kidnapped the male protagonist of this world. He threatened the system that if I couldn't be brought back to life, he would kill both of them. This world relies on the male and female protagonists to maintain its balance. If the male and female protagonists are killed, this world will collapse. The system asked me to go and persuade Hugh. I didn't want to see him. Maybe this world is just a world of paper characters to Hugh, but to you, it's the real world. The system tried to persuade me earnestly. Your parents, your relatives and friends, your colleagues, they all really exist. Are you going to just stand by and watch them die? These words touched me. I didn't care about the lives or deaths of Linda and that man, but I couldn't let so many people be implicated. When I saw Hugh again, he seemed like a completely different person. His eyes were blood red, and his body was filled with a murderous intent. He held a cigarette between his fingers, and the rising smoke obscured most of his face. He sat in the dimly lit room, and outside, there were police officers shouting for him to release the hostages. Linda and a man were lying on the ground. Both of them were covered in blood and looked in a terrible state. I walked up to him and called out, "Hugh." He finally looked at me, just one look, and he seemed to come back to life. His whole body started shaking, and his hand involuntarily reached out. "Evelyn, Evelyn, am I dreaming?" I dodged his hand and reminded him, "No, your system asked me to have a talk with you." His eyes lit up, and the next second, he pounced on me. "It's you, it's really you, they really brought you back." He kissed my hair and was so excited that he could hardly stand. "Evelyn, you're back, have you forgiven me?" I pushed him away. No, just these two words made Hugh lose his mind again. He knelt down, and tears streamed down his face. "I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have treated you like that, Evelyn. Please forgive me." "Okay, I've already avenged you." As he repented, he tried to grab my hand. I shook his hand off again and looked into his eyes. "Avenge me? Who was the one who really killed me?" "It was you, Hugh. How can you have the nerve to say you avenged me when you're still standing here safe and sound?" The system reminded me, "Evelyn, don't provoke him any further." I didn't respond to the system. No, I never meant to hurt you." Hugh frowned. "I just want to be with you. I love you, Evelyn, I love you." As he spoke, the electric current pierced through Hugh's body again. Judging from his reaction, this electric current was stronger than ever before. "Evelyn, it hurts so much," Hugh said to me. "Can you please hug me?" Before, whenever he was shocked by the electric current, I would go up and hug him and soothe him softly. Hugh once said that I was his salvation. As long as I hugged him, his world would light up. Now, even though he was begging pitifully, I didn't even want to take a step forward. I even shook my head. I told him, "Hugh, I don't think I can forgive you." Hugh's eyes widened, as if he had been struck on the head. Why can't you give me a chance? I did all of this for you. If I didn't complete the mission, I couldn't stay here." "Then let me ask you, were you really just trying to complete the mission? Did you really not have any feelings for Linda at all?" I couldn't hold back my anger and asked him, "Since you knew Linda's plot, you could have just stopped her from going abroad or found another way to prevent this from happening. Why did you have to make me suffer in her place? Why did you give all my things to her one by one? Were you really just trying to complete your mission? Words can deceive, but actions can't." Hugh was such a smart person. How could he not have realized his own feelings? He knew and still did it, just because he relied on the fact that I liked him and that I couldn't leave him. "Hugh, I could forgive you before because I loved you, but now I don't love you anymore." I said each word with great pain. "I'm afraid to love you now." Upon hearing these words, he looked as if he were dead. "I'm sorry." I told him, "Hugh, if you really feel sorry for me, stop doing these absurd things. I'm already dead once, and now I'm called out again to die because of you. Do you think this is fair to me? If you really feel sorry for me, then turn yourself in and let the Lord judge your mistakes." My words finally touched Hugh. He was silent for a long time, then slowly stood up and walked out of the room step by step. During this time, he looked back at me every 3 steps, and his eyes were filled with reluctance to part with me. When he opened the door, I heard Hugh say, "Evelyn, I'll come to you soon." At first, I didn't understand the meaning behind these words. until I died again and the system woke me up once more. It told me that Hugh had committed suicide, and because I had prevented this world from being destroyed, the system chose to let me be reborn. And I was still the protagonist of this world. Linda would be punished by the law and had already been imprisoned. After hearing all of this, I thought for a long time and finally asked, now that Hugh is dead, did he go back to his own world? The system shook its head and told me, once you're dead, you're dead. He didn't go back to his own world, and there was no trace of him left in this world either. Before he died, he kept calling my name. He thought that if he died, he could be with me. But he didn't know that I had been brought back to life. Even though I was resurrected, I couldn't live with my original identity. I changed my appearance and identity and had new friends and family. Even so, I still held a heart of gratitude. After all, I was still alive. As long as I'm alive, that's enough. A few years later, I returned to my old profession. I continued to shine in the medical field, of course. I also met my old